Welcome, everyone. I'm Harris Rose, and I'm the co-founder of Career Path Intelligence. And our mandate is to showcase purpose-driven careers in the form of both free and, as of January 1st, paid content. And I am delighted to be here with Verde Camilla Parmigiani. And she is the founder of Vegan Set, a company dedicated to helping the hospitality and fashion industries provide luxury goods and services to their clients. And she hails from the beautiful Lake Como region in Italy. And she currently lives only 1 hour outside of the fashion capital of the world, Milan. Verde worked in the hotel industry for many years. And there's a bit of a catch to what she does, and that is that she is providing a service that is vegan specific. She created a company called Vegan Set in 2016. What a great idea, with the aim of showing that a vegan lifestyle can be and should be synonymous with luxury. Why not? You live an hour outside of Milan. And as a vegan, Verde, you were struggling to find hotels and restaurants and other merchants, I guess, that could provide vegan options that could meet vegan gourmet needs. And as a vegan, I know that that's a struggle. It's becoming,
Yes,
right?
it
Thankfully,
is a big struggle.
absolutely. And so thankfully, it's becoming less of a struggle thanks to individuals like you and someone else we had on the show, Sebastiano Costia Castiglioni. You are both doing wonderful things. You're change makers, and it's such an honor to have you on our platform. So among its other activities, Vegan Set also has an online guide to the best vegan-friendly hotels and restaurants in the world, correct?
It's all correct. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation you did of myself today, Harris, and thanks for having me. Especially, as you said, because in this format you had so many great mentors, such as Sebastiano, that you just mentioned. So I'm deeply honored and happy to be here with you to give you my small snap of my career and of my company. So thank you so much.
It's our pleasure. What you do is certainly purpose-driven, and we're delighted to have you, Verde. What inspired you to become vegan? Let's talk about that. Go back to your childhood, and why vegan? You live in Europe, right? Isn't
Yes.
everybody a carnivore in Europe?
Yes, definitely. Most part of the people, it is indeed for sure. Well, it actually happened very naturally to me because since I was a very small, tiny kid, I've always been very sensitive toward animals and nature in general. And I always like to tell this nice episode that my mom told me because I was too small and little to remember. When I was around 3-4 years old, I was shopping with her at the grocery, and there was, all this chicken in the fridge, as it normally happens. And I was actually touching those kitchen and while saying poor kitchen and crying. So it was something really natural. My parents didn't teach me such a thing, but it's something I felt from the very beginning. And so when I grew up and I became a teenager, so let's say around 17 years old, I decided to become vegetarian, which is it now. It almost sounds like outdated to be vegetarian, but at those times was already quite a new thing. And I perfectly remember my family like telling me, "You're not going to survive. You can't be a vegetarian. You need meat. You need fish." So it was something quite something unusual at those times. And then around 5 years ago, I decided to make the next step and become 100% vegan. So both about food and also a lifestyle in general, so clothing and everything. And it was very easy. Actually, if I knew it before, I would have done it earlier for sure. So it's easy now. It's easy, it's simple, and it's fantastic. I feel much better with myself.
That's a wonderful reason to become vegan. I became vegan 3 years ago. My wife was prosecuting animal welfare cases, and it sounds to me like you also came to terms what motivated you when you were young, which is really extraordinary in a place like Italy, right? Which is also, one of the great culinary capitals of the world. I lived in Sonoma too, and in a lot of places like that, they may be slow to change, right, and to adopt veganism. But sounds like you came to terms with the fact that animals are sentient beings. They have feeling, and you wanted to live a cruelty-free lifestyle. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. That's the only reason. The health aspect of being a vegan, or it's something that it comes afterwards to me. I did it for the animals mainly, and because not eating meat and fish is not enough. Actually, all the dairy industry and all those products such as milk and dairy in general, eggs, unfortunately bring a lot of sufferance to the animals with all these slaughterhouses. But also I would say, sometimes you get the objection like, okay, but what if you eat meat or you drink milk of an happy animal up to the mountains? I would say that when there is, the killing itself of the animal is an act that includes violence, and I don't want violence in my life. And this, in
That's
some
a
way, it's what I feel.
that's a wonderful reason to become vegan, and I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. For me as well, that the health effects were almost ancillary. But I started running half marathons at 50, and I started
Wow,
doing things. Finishing near dead last in every race, but proudly finishing.
congratulations.
I'm embarrassed to tell you, but
No, no.
as Sir Paul McCartney said, if and long ago, if slaughterhouses had glass windows, nobody would eat meat, right?
Yeah,
And so great that people like you are taking this to the next level in regions like Milan, and because these would have been and have been slow to adopt veganism, certainly, because they're so steeped in tradition. But so that's a nice segue into you're living an hour away from the fashion capital of the world. Have mainstream luxury goods designers increasingly adopted veganism, do you feel, Verde? Are they going in that direction?
well, let's say that all the main brands, fashion brands, made a very strong step in the last months, let's say in the last 2 years. Almost all of them moved into a total four ban, which is actually a very big deal, because if we think about it, 10 years ago, it was something like related just to the animal rights activists, and normal people wouldn't care. Now all the main brands such as Gucci, Jimmy Choo, Burberry, Chanel, all of them banned totally fur. Fur is banned from their collections. And also some important Italian brands like Giorgio Armani and Versace did the same. And these are very important steps. Of course, there is still a lot to do because leather is still in and other animal products fabrics are still in. But I think that that's definitely the direction they will take, because what happens now that if we think about the furban, all the brands that didn't do this, now they look totally out of the world. They totally look old fashioned, something like it doesn't have a sense to exist now. And I think the same will happen with leather and other products. I can't tell you why, but I'm pretty sure it will happen.
That's great. So is it fair to say then that some luxury brands have catered to vegan lifestyles more than others, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. But then there is an interesting brand, the Stella McCartney brand, that it's a luxury fashion brand, and she's making everything vegan. So she's fur-free for sure, but also the leather she uses for her collection of bags and shoes is totally cruelty-free. And also other brands are investing a lot in new fabrics. They're making a lot of research, and now they make leather from apple peels and pineapples, and so
Wow.
this is very interesting, and that's the future.
Tell me, tell me more about your background, Verde, in hospitality.
Yes, with pleasure. So let's say that hospitality has always been my dream since I was a very small kid, which is quite unusual. I think I know that many people have no idea what to do in their future. Well, I was 10 years old and I perfectly knew I wanted to become a hotel general manager, which sounds crazy, but it's the real truth. But what happened that unfortunately, I couldn't attend to the hotelier school that it's located here on Lake Garda, because it was quite far from. We are talking to the correspondent to American high school. In Italian, it's scuole superiori, so it's not about university. It's the first step of our education. And it was so far that my mom didn't feel like letting me go. So I chose to study something else. And my career started with other kind of jobs. But let's say at around 23 years old, I said, look, this is not what I want to do. So I went back, studied a bit of English because it was kind of out of practice. And then I started working in a hotel on the lake, by the lake, and as a receptionist. And then I made all my steps from receptionist to event manager, sales and marketing manager, and assistant general manager. And I made all my career. I changed couple of hotels within some boutique hotels, 5 stars, Relais Chateau, and I had so many wonderful experience. I think it's one of the most amazing jobs in the world, because
Absolutely.
so many people from all around the world, so many stories. It's fantastic job.
You get to meet a lot of people, don't you?
Yes, I did. And I would probably, in one of my future steps, write a book, because I have so much to tell. Also, even fun facts.
I
To be
envy you.
honest.
One of the best jobs, and then I'm gonna jump on that in a second. One of the best jobs I ever had prior to attending law school was working as a tennis pro at a hotel. And
Oh,
and
wow.
and I echo your sentiments, because you get to meet so many interesting people. It's not, you're not traveling per se, but in a way you are, because you are meeting people from all over the place, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And people is on vacation most of the time, so they are enjoying themselves. It's fantastic atmosphere, and I loved, especially I love to work in the evening. When there is this nice atmosphere with a piano bar, all the people chilling. It's wonderful. I think it's just wonderful.
So I think this uniquely qualifies you, the hotel background, or hospitality background, and becoming vegan uniquely qualifies you to run with this purpose-driven idea. And that's a nice lead into my next question, which is related to the consequences for luxury brands, whether they are luxury brand properties or clothing designers that don't adapt to vegan lifestyles. What do you think about that? Are there negative consequences for those who don't?
Definitely yes, definitely yes. And the pandemic has also accelerated this process. The fact of being sustainable and being vegan is part of being sustainable, is something that was already in the future and in the perspective for every company in the world, especially I would say hospitality, food and beverage, and fashion as well. But the pandemic has accelerated all this process because people is getting very, very conscious, is now understand the connection within, the fact, the animal slaughterhouse and some kind of diseases and virus as well. There is a lot of knowledge from the part of the customers. And what I see that it's not the same from the part of the companies. So some of them are already up to date and keep working on these important topics. But most of them still think it's just a trend, it's just something that will stop in some way, and they're not investing in it. And I think it's a big mistake, because I think actually they're already late. And so
I think you're right, Verde. When I look at companies like Beyond Meat, which launched, and I had this discussion with Sebastiano when we had him on. When I look at companies like that, that were early adopters, I mean, people are aware that, or many people are aware that they had literally the most successful IPO in 2019 of any company. But what a lot of people don't know is that they struggled back in 2009 or 2010. Their business goes back about a decade at least. I'm probably not doing the story justice, right? But it didn't take a pandemic, which is really your point. It did not take a pandemic to actually generate more interest in veganism. Veganism was already very much on the rise, especially with younger, more socially conscious, people, and the pandemic simply accelerated that process. Right? Is that fair to say?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And also, I think that a brand value nowadays is also made of the attention to this new sensitivity. It's not just the product or the service itself, but also how much the brand cares about environment, also society, and the way, of course, they manage their governance. But the environment part, it's very, very important, and customers really care and want to know if you care about it or not.
Absolutely. I've lived through a wildfire myself in Northern California, so this really resonates with me, not just as a vegan, but as someone who is hypersensitive to climate change.
Yes.
And right, and living a plant-based lifestyle is certainly at or near the top of the list of things that individuals can do, and certainly which corporations can do to make the world a better place. So thank you for sharing and for what you do. And so is it difficult, Verde, for luxury brands that have used leather and fur to pivot and to now offer plant-based options? And just before you answer, what I mean specifically is that let's say the majority of your product is fur or leather. There are some companies like that. Are you going to get called out by vegans, by people who live a plant-based lifestyle, if you still have product offering that is fur and leather, but you're going in a vegan direction, right? I mean, what's your take on that? What do you think?
I think that as the market is growing, the market of products which are cruelty-free and vegan will let people choose, will let people have more chances to choose within different brands, and surely will choose the brands which are completely cruelty-free. So if before you had to catch what you could find without making yourself too many questions, but because there were few products, now the fact that there are more and more brands offering vegan products let us people be more choosy, and so brands need to deal with this new reality as soon as possible. Otherwise, they will be seriously cut off, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I see increasingly people, but I wanted your view since this is your core business. And I see people in this space, who, and even recent adopters like me. I mean, I was a carnivore for many, many years, and I'm embarrassed to tell you that I was the last one in my family to become vegan. My young children and my wife became vegan before I did. My last holdout was cheese. I love cheese too much.
I know.
Unpasteurized cheese, and I would come down to this very cellar and just have a bottle of wine and some unpasteurized cheese. But now of course you have some incredible products with the same and I think superior olfactory senses, right? Like Beyond Meat and the cashew based cheeses that are of really high quality, companies like Miyoko's and there are just lots of them out there doing this, putting out great products, and nutritional yeast, which also mimics the olfactory senses of cheese. It is absolutely ripe, isn't it, for you to be doing what you're doing in the luxury
Thank you so
business.
much. Thank you so much.
It's incredible.
I choose luxury for a specific reason. For sure, everybody loves luxury. Luxury hotels are fantastic. Luxury brands in fashion are amazing. Of course, everybody does. But the reason why I decided to go into this is that I found that there was still a lack of knowledge, especially in this hospitality industry. There is a lack of knowledge about what is plant-based food, and that's what I want to bring with my experience and my knowledge. But also the fact that people is very inspired by luxury. So once that luxury is doing the things very well, this can just make all this fantastic vegan and plant-based world more appealing to everybody, also to people who is not necessarily vegan, and that's who we want to attract, because that's something, there is this Italian comedian who made a very nice sketch about vegan, and he said something which I think it's really true. Vegans have a problem with the marketing, because instead of attracting the target, they reject it, because sometimes, vegans can be really judgmental. And what I want to do and what I'm doing with Vegan Set is just showing the best. No judge to anybody. We're not here to judge anybody, just to show how can how fantastic can vegan be, and what can be done, and how a fantastic lifestyle you can have. That's the key point of Vegan Set.
That's an excellent mantra. I have to say, you always win more people over with love, right? Than
True.
with disdain, and allowing people options. And I go back to Beyond Meat's strategy of putting their
Yeah.
product in the meat aisles of supermarkets, to give consumers that choice. And increasingly, you had people adopting, because this really was, and they're not the only ones. Impossible Foods, there are a number of them that have done
Yeah, it's a
some.
fantastic concept. And imagine how many animals have already been saved thanks to these fantastic Beyond Meat products and alternatives.
Absolutely. So now let's, I love what you do, and I want to, I want to promote you a little bit too,
Thank
because not that you need promotion, because there's such a vast market out there for you now. But tell our audience, and in particular young people who are looking for a new vertical in this day and age, right? There's so much change. I mean, my background, I'm a higher education lawyer, so I've been looking at just how dynamic changes and
Yes.
in the labor market, right? All over the world, nothing is really static, right? And it seems to me that the industries that people want to gravitate to, if they can, are industries where they're really going to, especially young people, industries where they're really going to make a difference. So tell us, if I'm a hotelier, or I'm a restaurateur, tell me what you can do for me in the context of understanding the plant-based mindset.
Yeah, let's say that what I do is basically give a know-how, because as I said before, there is a very lack of knowledge. And so in some way, I think that dealing with vegan customers, or also vegetarian or even flexitarian, because there is a wide range of situations out there, it's like talking a completely new language. And if you don't have the skills, so you're not why people is turning vegan, why people is flexitarian, what's behind the animal welfare situation, rather than healthy you know people who wants to be more healthy and decide to go vegan for those reasons, you can't deal with the customers properly, because there is a lack of understanding. So the first step is surely to make hotelier able to deal with the customers, and afterwards to be able to provide a proper service. So I help them creating the menus, the vegan options on the menu. We go through wine list and cocktail list, because also beverage can be vegan or non-vegan, and all the global experience at the hotel. So from the moment of the check-in until the checkout, because there is also a discussion open about the furnitures, rather than the courtesy set in the bathroom, and all these wonderful products you can find in the bathrooms in the hotel. They must be cruelty free, they have not to be tested on animals. And every hotel, of course, can decide how deep to go into this, because they just want a certain amount of options on the menu, and that's it for them. But from that, we can go up to a total cover the global experience of the customer at the hotel. And it's important, I think, for them for hotelier to be ready and have all the
Absolutely.
tools to do it.
Absolutely. So what a great service you offer. And let's face it, after COVID, the hotel industry and the cruise ship industry, those are industries that are just bound to bounce back. I mean, people are just craving to get out of their shell, right, and travel. And when that happens, not if it
Yeah.
happens, but right when that happens, if you're a luxury hotel, you cannot offer 3-star service, right? And even if you're, a mid-range hotel, increasingly you're going to get people, customers, consumers, with plant-based lifestyles who will expect to have plant-based options on the menu, and in every other respect. I mean, the auto industry is another good example, isn't it? Right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
my
Absolutely.
right, people don't buy. My wife and I don't buy vehicles with leather seats, and sometimes that is, especially for some um, foreign auto manufacturers, manufacturers outside of Canada and the United States, it is, that can be a difficult order. What do you mean you don't want leather seats, right?
Yeah, no,
But
it's something, it's still happening, but it will change soon because Lewis Hamilton is making his huge part on this about cars.
it's incredible, right? All over the world, it's not just electric cars. It's the Tata, I think, just did an end-to-end, their Nexon, an end-to-end recyclable vehicle.
I didn't
And
know that.
yeah, and I mean, this is really based on, on consumer demand, and people wanting, I think, manufacturers, and any sort of vendor to walk the talk, right? So you are helping so many businesses walk the talk. So I can't thank you enough, both as a fellow vegan, but also, I just love. I think you're really going to inspire a lot of students out there, a lot of people. That's what we try to do. A lot of people who are wondering what they should do, with their career.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of choice. Sure, COVID. I mean, you mentioned COVID. COVID has has been a profound tragedy, but sometimes from those tragedies come opportunity, and right, and this is, I think the plant-based market is just bound to continue to grow, right, moving forward.
Yes, there
So
is a lot of space. Also because it's something, I always make the example of the plant-based gastronomy itself. It's something which is, it's just born. Even if we can say that our grandparents, for instance, in Italy, used to eat just basically plant-based because, by in the poor countryside, they didn't eat meat every day. It was something, it happened twice a year, but most of the day it was just vegetables and cereals and stuff like that. So it was basically, I would say, a plant-based option, but plant-based lifestyle. But despite this, the plant-based gastronomy, it's just born. So there are so many possibilities around this concept, but around the plant-based lifestyle in general, that I think students can have a lot of choices in this. And my recommendation is always just to follow what you are really passionate about, and focus on it, because as we said, there are many possibilities in everything around, sustainability and the environmental issues in the future. So
that's great advice. And so I'm going to wrap up by asking you, putting you on the spot. What's the one question that you wished I had asked you that I hadn't asked you?
that's a difficult question to make. I don't know, because maybe what's my dream for the future?
What is your dream for the future?
My dream for the future is that each animal life will be considered as the life of a human being. That's my dream.
What a great hope and a prayer, right? To end off on. And Verde, I want to thank you for gracing us with your presence today. I know it's late afternoon in Italy, early morning in Canada, but in Toronto. But I hope to have you on in the future as well, and keep doing what you're doing.
It was indeed my pleasure, Aris. Thank you so much.